Hi, Tina. How are you?
I'm great, Chip. Nice to see you.
It's always wonderful to see you. I've been looking forward to this for a long time to sit down for 10 minutes and just hear the absolutely incredible story of Tina Chang and Syslogic and really the legacy that you have in this community, southeastern Wisconsin and beyond, is unlike anybody else I know in this industry. And I was hoping if you could just share with us some of the background, because you were very involved in Syslogic from the very beginning for 25 years plus. Take us through that process and where you are today, if you could. And you only got 10 minutes, so it's going to be a brief but beautiful story.
Great. Thank you so much for having me, Chip. And, especially in this day right now that we are so fluid in the business community, I know our startups are having a really tough time, and we're going to see a lot of startups coming out of this when this is all over. I love being able to just say, hang in there, because we are a 25-year-old startup story. So 25 years ago, and I cannot believe that it's gone this quickly. Uh, Another gentleman and I, our original founder who actually incorporated us, Joseph Schultz, still a great friend. He and I both worked at Anderson Consulting, now Accenture. And, we were 24 and 27 years old. And I was working on mainframe solutions at the time. I wanted to work with, let's see, new stuff. And we had this vision that we could break off and do it better and do it ourselves, focusing in on emerging technologies in order to do what Anderson was doing extremely well at the time, which was impacting the world with technology. And so we were very green and we were very young and very naive, and said, let's go to it at Syslogic. And while we're at it, let's not only focus on emerging technologies, but let's try and do it in a way that allowed people to get off the road, perhaps not travel as much. We were very typical Gen Xers that wanted to get involved in local community. And so we embarked on creating a boutique services firm that did just that.
Oh, no, that's excellent. I think one of the things too, though, and I remember when you and Joseph just started the business. I remember sitting down with you almost, I think it was 25 years ago. But so much has happened since then. I mean, you've embarked on a big community initiative that I'd love for a little insight into. Obviously, a lot of decisions have been made recently with regard to the DNC, but I'd be really interested in hearing what Syslogic decided to do in terms of determining what platform made most sense for this incredible solution that you're going to talk to us about, and why you came to the conclusion that AWS was the best solution for this particular project.
Great. So a little bit of storytelling here, Chip, of how I got so engaged with community. When I was leaving Anderson Consulting, in addition to exploring doing a startup called Syslogic, of course, I explored my various passions, and my other passion is community service. So I literally almost took a job running the mentoring programs for the YMCA. And when it came down to it, I said to the Y, I think I could do so much better for you not working for you than working for you. And I promise I'll be like one of your biggest donors eventually. So I embarked on the commercial side versus the nonprofit side, but nonprofit has always been in my blood. And so you can imagine that when you, as owners of companies, really start to intertwine the fabric of who you are and what we call CEO convictions or owner convictions into the fabric of the company, and really leverage those strengths, you could see how community became such a big and important part of Syslogic's future, and my personal time as well. So if I'm not at work, I'm doing some level of community service. And
How many boards of directors do you serve on now?
Right now, 10. It usually is somewhere between 8 and 12. But I always joke that for every kid I didn't have, I could join 6 boards and give back a different way. So it's been a great journey. And, part of what I didn't suspect, because community service was somewhat of a personal passion, was how much context we were going to gain of how to apply technology in all facets of our world, not just what our clients and business needed. And of course, there's enough to keep you busy there, but what community and government and public sector and individuals and citizens need that they don't necessarily know how to ask for. And so my journey has been selfishly very rewarding for me, but it's also been rewarding for the company, because now as everybody is out there doing community work in our company, because it is one of our guiding principles, they are gaining context that stretches across private sector to public sector. And that is really where an exciting initiative that we're embarking on right now in preparation for the DNC, which you had just mentioned, where it was really spawned, is that intersection between private and public sector. So we're seeing it right now more and more with COVID-19. We are seeing that crazy crash and intersection between where business relies on government and where government controls business, whether we like it or not. And recognizing that we are quite disjointed in a number of different ways. So when Milwaukee won DNC, which quite frankly is the biggest event we'd ever host, again, prior to stay-at-home orders, we'll see what happens in the coming months. But prior to that, it was going to be the biggest event that we were going to host, requiring ridiculously good collaboration between our public and private sectors in order to pull off not only a great event, but a very safe event. And so we immediately asked ourselves and the stakeholders the questions of how do we underpin that with technology and reusable technology for major events. And we quickly found that that wasn't necessarily a great playbook around the nation, not only for DNCs or RNCs, but even on the world stage in some cases for events like Olympics, right? So it's been a great journey, really starting with stakeholder collaboration, nothing technical, but real stakeholder collaboration, the players. So think your FBI and your Secret Service and your law enforcement agencies and emergency responders, together with the corporate partners that really surround the livelihood and the economic impact of bringing in a major event like this. So we embarked on the technological piece after we did a lot of herding of cats. And once we understood some of the major requirements, we literally scoured the technological solution providers out there. We looked at the cloud platforms, and it was pretty obvious to us, because of some technical and non-technical facets, that AWS was going to be a great partner for a solution like this. So, blending in community context and need, blending in Syslogic's background in doing a lot of public and private sector work, and seeing how they come together for major events like DNC or emergency disaster planning like COVID, has been a wonderful way for us to not only apply what we know about technology, but the leverage that AWS brings to that.
Oh, appreciate that. I think hopefully when the DNC does in fact take place, we'll get to see an incredible solution that's going to have a legacy effect on the community as well. So it will be able to be leveraged post DNC. So I'm super excited to see how that happens. I neglected to congratulate you and Syslogic on achieving select status with AWS. Fantastic. I know this is a recent occurrence for the business, so that's wonderful. What's next for Syslogic?
Chip, thank you for select partnership. And let me start by saying, our decision to invest in AWS isn't just a technical one. It's about identifying great companies that you want to be a part of. And, I laugh because if you actually look back at when Amazon was founded, Jeff got a start about 18 months before we did at Syslogic, and obviously he picked the better industry and strategy. But at some point in time, you've got to decide if you're going to get on the bandwagon of great companies. And about a year and a half ago, we did a really intense study to decide if AWS was part of our ecosystem. And if you truly do a deep dive into the different technological cloud platforms, you will see that not only the technology, but the company strategies differentiate or attempt to differentiate themselves quite a bit. And we shouldn't just look at cloud as this cloud is the same as that cloud, go any cloud, because if you're actually following company strategy and their cloud plays, they really start to take future roadmap, different future roadmaps. And that's really interesting for us. So when you ask what's our future, it is really doing a deeper dive to align with AWS's strategy. So again, look at their acquisitions that you all are making, look at some of the forward-thinking strategies that are starting to take shape, and align to those, because they're going to look different than the alignment to your competitor roadmaps. And it will allow you to differentiate and find your individual points of strength in those roadmaps, and where you or us as a service provider really get to work with the strategy and not necessarily always have to play catch up with the strategy. So, you know, for us, what's next? I think that COVID-19 brings an immense number of opportunities for those that don't spend their entire day spinning. So make sure that organizations are spending the right amount of time during this very tough time thinking about the future and where points of opportunity are going to look, where they're going to be, what they're going to look like. And, you know, my favorite saying right now to all my entrepreneurial friends is that if you're trying to think about the future and how to plan for the future, follow the money, because there will be money flowing. Not every industry is down. Some are thriving. And quite frankly, if you haven't gotten into following the money from a federal incentive and in future insurgents from a financial perspective, please do, because that's where our government is going to get us out of this. So this is a bit more of a strong rebound. And again, you've got to look forward and stay optimistic through this.
Love it. I love the attitude, Tina, as always. Hey, thank you so much. Will you come back for an encore?
Oh, absolutely. Anything to see you, Chip.
Oh, gosh. I love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Tina.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.